Welcome to another episode of the Mount Rushmore of Everything. And today we are talking about the Mount Rushmore of Pixar
Pixar
films.
movies, one of our favorite topics.
Pixar is
It's just
very
amazing.
interesting.
It's just an amazing thing.
for sure. And then, of course, of any studio that you can think of that you think this studio equals good, the only one I can think of is Pixar. Like, for the most part, like, there are directors I trust, right? Like, if there's a Nolan film, sign me up.
Yeah.
Here's my money. But as far as studios, right, like there's almost every studio has its good, its bad, and like nobody ever thinks, oh, Universal Pictures, they're good. You think Universal Pictures, they have
It's
some
always
great
been
films
there.
and some horrible films. So it's always been there and always will be there.
Yeah.
But Pixar, for the most part, there are some duds for sure, but for the most part, you can rely that a Pixar film is going to be usually like on the lower side of good at worst, except for you, Cars 2. You suck. I thought that for this one, there were two clear non-negotiables, possibly three. But I'm going to lock in two non-negotiables, I
I think I'm going to go again with one.
One. Interesting.
Just one.
All right, well, since you have just one, why don't you start us off?
Toy Story.
Has to be.
Yes.
It's the first?
As the first, that the one started it all.
Yeah.
I remember when I heard the whole concept of it, the first fully computer animated movie, and I thought, how is that possible? How can you do that? You can't. You have to have cartoons like drawings in them. And then I saw it and I was like, whoa, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then everything changed after that.
Yeah. So it not only did it impact filmmaking in general, but also, like you said, it was the first Pixar film in general. So Toy Story is just so obvious in so many different ways, including like as far as an animated series, because it spawned a whole animated series as well. Can you think of anything that even comes close to the series of Toy Story? Like, I can't even think of a truly good animated trilogy. Can't think of one.
For kids. No.
Are there animated trilogies
That has
for adults?
the impact that has that. Well, animated.
For animated.
For animated, you mean?
Because
sorry.
When I think animated films, right, like very few even reach a trilogy. Like Ice Age got to a trilogy, but I would say like it's Ice Age is a great movie, and then the rest are like, yeah, they're fine, whatever.
Yeah, the rest they went for the money.
Sure, you could argue that's any movie, I guess.
Right.
But like I would even argue Toy Story 3 was the best. Personally, I'd have to rewatch 1 and 2 again. It's been a while. But 3 was incredible. I think 2 was incredible. Even 4 was really good.
Favorite of all of them.
2 is a common favorite.
Yes.
I need to go back and rewatch that one. I think that's the one I've only seen once, actually.
The first one?
No, the second.
Oh, the second one. Okay.
The first one I've seen tons of times because I owned the VHS tape back in the day as a kid. But it's been a while. And then 3, we own the Blu-ray, so I've seen that like 2 or 3 times. Including once in theaters. And I want to say, 2, I only saw it in theaters, or like once, me and my parents went to Blockbuster, the local video store, before we upgraded to Blockbuster, and rented it. So I think I've only seen it once.
Okay.
But either way, Toy Story, super clear.
Yeah.
It started it all. It started the whole computer generated. Just has everything that you want. In a clear non-negotiable on the Mount Rushmore.
For sure.
For sure. So since you only have one non-negotiable, I guess I gotta go with mine, since I have 2 non-negotiables.
All right, go ahead.
This is the greatest selling DVD of all time. It is also the second best-selling animated film of all time, not counting not counting Lion King, because Lion King has like 3 different releases, including the newest version that they consider animated, even though it's like looks real or whatever. So not counting that. Next only to Frozen. It also is one of the most well-known of Pixar's films, and that is Finding Nemo.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Finding Nemo is... It's funny, because when I looked up... Because part of what excited me about this specific subject is I thought it was a good mix. Because some of ours, right, there's no facts to go off of. It's just kind of like
basically an opinion.
Yeah, it's an opinion. But this one is a good mix of like opinion and sort of gut feeling, combined with there are some facts, but it's not also because clear facts can be boring, and then just
right. Because if you see which one is the like, if you go by the amount they made, the money that they made, and the release, then it's gonna change from which one has the best reviews.
For sure.
So it's very.
For example, I would argue the best of all of them is one that many people has slipped through the cracks.
Which one?
It's not on my 4.
Which one?
Coco. It's incredible. If you have not seen Coco, do yourself a favor and watch it. It is personally to me the greatest animated film I've ever seen.
It's very good. I agree.
So good.
Sorry.
It's so good.
Just needed to change.
Yeah. But, so, and I think there was another fact with the Finding Nemo. So best-selling DVD of all time, beating number 2 by a whopping 68%. That's 68% more, which is just incredible. Second best-selling animated film of all time, like I said. And then the only Pixar film that's on the top 10 of best-selling animated films. And then it was also the first movie to be nominated for both Best Picture and Best Animated.
Oh, that's
Picture.
Right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
It was one year.
That sorry. That's wrong. That was wrong. I was wrong. This was actually the first Pixar Academy Award for Best Animated Film. So it's the first win. It's the first Pixar win. For animated for Pixar.
Okay.
Was with Finding Nemo.
All right. So then, which one? Well, anyway.
Spoiler
but then the story is just great.
Oh, so good.
It's like, I would say from all the Pixar movies, the story of Nemo, I think is my favorite story. As far as story. The story goes. I have other movies Pixar movies that are my favorite because of not just the story, but many other things around it that I like. But the story itself is just wonderful. I love it. I think it's great. Just the whole idea of Nemo being lost and his dad not caring about anything but going and rescuing him, and just leaving everything and going through all the dangers that he went and he did not stop until he got his son back.
Yeah, and it's also a perfect humor versus heart film, I think.
Yeah, it's
which
very
Pixar in
well
general
mixed.
has mastered, I think.
Yes.
But some of them might err a little one way or the other.
I can't watch Up. Like the first 10 minutes of it, I just
masterful.
It's
though.
just
masterful 10 minutes of cinema.
Yeah,
so good.
So good.
Yeah.
Not because it's bad or anything, just because I don't like to go through all the suffering that those minutes give you in the beginning.
Yeah. That movie in general is pretty, I don't want to say dark, but,
it's too real.
Deep. It's very, for sure.
It's that can actually happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So we agree.
Yeah.
2 for 2 so far.
2 for 2.
All right.
Very nice.
Give me your third one.
I'm going to go with Monsters, Inc.
Okay.
I think that at that point, well, first of all, you think of Pixar movies, you talk to anyone about Pixar movies, and that's one of the first ones that come to mind. You have the picture of the big furry monster and the green tiny one round monster.
Sure.
And you associate that right away with Pixar, together with obviously Toy Story, and together with some of the others that we'll probably talk about.
That is their third brand new one, right? I think it was Toy Story, Bug's Life, Toy Story 2, and then Monsters, Inc. That seems right.
Yeah,
and then Finding Nemo, I think, was right after
that. That one came out in 2002. I remember because I went to the theater to see it.
Okay. And Toy Story was 98, I think.
Mm-hmm.
98, I think. So, so that lines up. I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it seems that they were now getting the hang of it.
Yeah.
You see the animation is getting so good.
So much better, yeah.
They made such a big deal about the fur of Sully being animated and how hard it was and how hard it is to animate hair anyways. The music is great. The story is great. So I think
I need to rewatch that one.
Now, do you agree with that?
It was not on my 4.
Okay.
I contemplated it though.
Okay.
I definitely contemplated it.
I'm gonna have him biased too.
This was another exciting one for me because there's just so many. It was another one that's because sometimes you know how like there's really obvious ones and then you got like a whole slew and you're trying to stuff them in, and then sometimes there's the opposite problem where you're like there's 10 that deserve it.
Yeah.
This was a good balance between the two of like I thought there were 2 obvious ones and then there's so many kind of deserving ones, but it's still. I feel good about my 4, but that is certainly one that I considered.
Very well,
even if it is not.
So I want to hear yours.
All right, my third one we're just gonna go to because you mentioned it before, and that is Up. That
really,
yes, that is the first one that Pixar.
That one I didn't even consider to.
Really?
No.
See, now I'll explain 2 factors to my thought here. One is the Academy Awards in 2001. Created a new category for animated.
Yeah.
And this is the first film to actually get nominated both for animated and for Best Picture. It only won Best Animated. I think it was their 3rd win. So that's part of my reasoning. But the bigger reasoning for me is to me, it feels like Pixar has sort of created some franchises that everybody knows, which to me, the big ones, most obvious one being Toy Story.
Yeah.
Right? And then Cars, right?
Yes.
Like there's like 3 or 4 Cars movies. So they have ones that like you can tell they're like going for more films after. And then there's like those great one-offs, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a bunch of great one-offs. Yeah. And to me, the one that stood out to me as the most iconic because the amount of times I've heard somebody mention the masterfulness of those first 10 minutes is just incredible. And if there's one I can think of that was to me a good balance of because there's a lot of like I mentioned Coco, right? Like, and I will stand up for that being the greatest animated film probably until the day I die, until something becomes better, maybe.
Really?
So
that
good.
much?
I love that film so much. It's perfect in every way to me. It has plot twists that are perfect that you don't see coming. The music is great. The story is great. The heart is great. It's just, it's so good. But, anyway, but Up to me of those like other Pixar was the one that stood out as most, iconic or well known. And I thought that we needed to nod to those and not just go through like, here are the biggest franchises they've spun off.
Yeah.
Also because some of those franchises are not going to be on this list because they don't deserve to be for me. But Up deserves this place because of that.
Up. Very well. Okay.
So what's your 4th?
My 4th would be, and here I had a little bit of, and that's why I said I was biased a little with this list because one I didn't care for it that much.
Interesting. Okay.
Personally, I know that it did very well and it created the franchise and
I have a feeling we're going to
agree very popular.
On this one.
But I didn't want to include it, so I decided to go with The Incredibles.
Yep. That is actually my 4th as well.
Okay.
So we ended up agreeing on 3 out of 4.
3 out of 4. That's nice.
Yeah.
So, The Incredibles.
So, what was your reasoning?
It's the one they started now going in a different direction. They wanted to experiment with new things. They wanted to have a superhero type of movie, which we're starting to get popular again. And a lot of attention. So here comes Pixar with a superhero movie. Kids just loved it. Yeah. And the parents. And it still surprises me how much of success it was as a movie. And again, because, you know, when I look at what we would put in the Mount Rushmore, I put a lot of my own thing in it. Like, why would I think, you know? Because it's really not about, you know, what is, like, the rankings and all that. We take those in account, but bottom line is, what do I think that would be there? And it still surprises me that people remember. And then they do the sequel again and did very well. And
that is actually the third highest grossing animated film ever, I believe.
People are still dressing up as The Incredibles.
Yep.
So it's a very popular movie, and I think, yeah, that would be part of the 4.
Also, it was Pixar. Fun fact: it was Pixar's first film to get 2 Academy Awards. It won Best Animated Film, and it also won Best Sound Design. Which is interesting. But yeah, it's also the first one to revolve around humans for Pixar.
Yeah.
It was the first time that they didn't have, some shtick like toys, bugs,
right,
cars, which Cars wasn't out yet, I don't think. Monsters.
And I think that's one of the things that I wasn't too crazy about it.
Sure.
Was the fact that now they're going with,
felt like
with
they
old people.
Got out of the box and then they're going back in.
But then again, you need to understand they are trying new things. They're looking for different. They don't stick to a formula.
Yeah.
And it's always, their formula is the whole what if.
So we agreed on all of them, except for one.
Mm-hmm.
We both agreed Toy Story as a non-negotiable.
That's right.
I also had Finding Nemo as a non-negotiable. You had it, but not as a non-negotiable. Yeah. And we agreed on Incredibles, even though you are an Incredibles hater.
I'm not a hater.
No, actually, I failed to mention this, but I actually kind of agree with you. That
every once in a while,
is good, but it's not as good as the thing around it. Yeah. So the only thing we disagreed on was you went with Monsters, Inc.
Monsters, Inc.
And I went with Up. So let us know in the comments. Who do you think was right? Tell us which one's right. Or do you have a totally different 4? Let us know in the comments. Leave your 4. Tell us why. Tell us why we were wrong. Did we just not even mention one that you thought deserved at least a mention in this video? If so, throw that in there.
Tell us what is your last Pixar movie you watched.
Yeah, also tell us that. Drop a like if you enjoyed this video so that we can make more. And then subscribe, click the little notification bell so that you know when we come out with more videos, because we, of course, will come out with more videos.
Hey you! Yeah, you! Drop that like if you haven't already. And share this video with a friend who loves Cars too. Just kidding. Those people don't exist, right? Well, share it with a friend who loves Pixar movies. If you want to hear more of our discussion about the Pixar movies we left off of our Mount Rushmores, check out our snubs video on the left.